The way a person organizes their space before going to sleep can quietly influence the mindset they carry into the next day. Nighttime is not only a moment of rest for the body, it is also a moment when the mind begins to slow down and absorb the final signals from the environment around it. When someone takes a few seconds to place their shoes neatly before going to bed, it may appear like a very small action, yet it reflects a deeper habit of order and intention. Shoes are connected with movement, daily activity, and the direction of one's journey. When they are scattered or left carelessly in different places, it subtly reflects a lack of attention to how the day ends. But when they are placed in a simple, organized way, they represent readiness for tomorrow's steps. This kind of routine trains the mind to associate the end of the day with preparation rather than disorder. Over time, these small signals influence the subconscious, creating a mindset that values structure and readiness. People who consistently practice small acts of order often develop stronger discipline in other parts of life as well. Financial improvement and personal progress usually grow in environments where clarity and preparation already exist. By closing the day with a simple act of organization, a person reminds themselves that tomorrow is another opportunity to move forward. The environment then becomes a quiet partner in shaping a focused and prepared mindset. There is also a psychological benefit in ending the day with intentional actions instead of random habits. The human mind responds strongly to patterns, and the last actions performed before sleep often leave a lasting impression. When someone intentionally arranges their shoes before resting, it creates a symbolic preparation for the next journey they will take the following day. This act communicates readiness, movement, and expectation. Instead of waking up to disorder or scattered belongings, the person wakes up to a simple reminder that their next step is already prepared. These small visual cues can shape how the mind approaches the day ahead. When the mind sees order first thing in the morning, it often responds with a greater sense of control and focus. That sense of control can influence decisions, productivity, and awareness of opportunities throughout the day. Financial growth is rarely the result of one large action. It usually grows from consistent habits that strengthen discipline and awareness. The simple act of placing shoes neatly before sleep may not directly create money, but it helps build the mindset that supports progress and responsible action. Over time, the combination of preparation, clarity, and consistent routine can influence how a person approaches work, goals, and opportunities. What begins as a small nightly practice gradually becomes part of a larger pattern of living with intention and direction. There is a quiet connection between order, intention, and the way people experience progress in their lives. When the environment around a person reflects confusion or disorder, the mind often mirrors that same scattered pattern. It becomes harder to focus, harder to recognize opportunity, and harder to move forward with clear direction. But when a person intentionally creates order in even the smallest parts of their surroundings, it begins to influence the way they think and act. Something as simple as placing shoes neatly before going to sleep is a small demonstration of this principle. Shoes represent the steps a person takes every day. They carry the body toward work, responsibilities, and opportunities. When they are left carelessly in random places, the message is subtle but powerful. The day ended without preparation for what comes next. However, when they are placed carefully side by side, it signals readiness for tomorrow's journey. This simple act becomes a small declaration that the next day matters and that each step is intentional. Over time, these habits of order begin shaping the subconscious mind. The brain starts associating daily routines with discipline and preparation rather than randomness. People who live with consistent structure often develop stronger focus and greater awareness of opportunities around them. Financial growth usually favors those who move through life with clarity and readiness. By maintaining order in everyday habits, a person trains themselves to approach responsibilities and goals with the same level of attention. What begins as a simple routine gradually strengthens a mindset that welcomes progress and encourages steady improvement. Intention adds another powerful layer to the idea of order. Many actions people perform every day are automatic, done without thought or meaning. But when a person adds intention to a small habit, it transforms the action into something more purposeful. Placing shoes neatly before bed can become a moment of reflection about the direction of life and the steps that will be taken tomorrow. It becomes a pause where a person silently acknowledges that the next day will bring movement and opportunity. Instead of rushing into sleep after a day filled with distractions, this small act allows the mind to close the day with awareness. Over time, this pattern builds a stronger connection between discipline and expectation. The person begins to wake up feeling more prepared because the environment already reflects readiness. Seeing the shoes organized and waiting for the next day acts as a subtle reminder that progress begins with taking the next step forward. When someone consistently lives with that mindset, their decisions often become more thoughtful and deliberate. Opportunities that once seemed hidden become easier to recognize because the mind is trained to look for direction rather than confusion. While the act itself is simple, the mindset behind it encourages responsibility, planning, and awareness. These qualities often play an important role in financial improvement and personal development. By practicing order and intention at the end of each day, a person gradually builds the mental discipline that supports long-term growth and steady success. Nighttime habits have a quiet but powerful influence on the subconscious mind because the moments just before sleep are when the brain begins to transition into a deeper state of rest and reflection. During this time, the mind becomes more receptive to the signals coming from the surrounding environment. The final actions of the day can leave subtle impressions that shape the thoughts and expectations carried into the next morning. When someone ends the day with scattered belongings, unfinished routines, or a sense of disorder, the mind may continue processing that same feeling of imbalance even during rest. But when a person takes a few calm seconds to organize something simple, such as placing their shoes neatly before going to bed, the message sent to the mind is very different. It communicates completion, preparation, and readiness for what comes next. Shoes symbolize the steps a person takes through life, representing movement toward goals, responsibilities, and opportunities. By placing them carefully, a person is quietly preparing for the journey of the next day. This small action signals to the subconscious that tomorrow already has direction. Over time, repeating this pattern strengthens a mindset of preparation. The brain begins associating the end of the day with organization and intention instead of chaos. When the mind consistently receives signals of order before sleep, it can wake up with a stronger sense of clarity and readiness. That clarity often affects how people approach their daily tasks, the decisions they make, and the opportunities they recognize. Financial progress and personal growth often begin with the way individuals manage their habits and expectations, and nighttime routines play an important role in shaping that foundation. The subconscious mind works quietly beneath daily awareness, but it strongly influences behavior, confidence, and perception. What a person repeatedly experiences before sleep often becomes a pattern that the mind accepts as normal. If someone ends each day with thoughtful preparation, the brain begins to associate rest with readiness for progress. Placing shoes neatly before bed may appear like a minor habit, yet it acts as a visual cue that tomorrow's steps are already prepared. When morning arrives, the first thing the eyes may notice is that simple sign of organization waiting by the door or beside the bed. This small detail can influence how the day begins. Instead of waking up to confusion or clutter, the person wakes up to a quiet reminder that movement and direction are already set. These subtle signals can shape motivation and focus throughout the day. People who begin their mornings with clarity are often more productive and more attentive to opportunities around them. Financial improvement frequently depends on recognizing chances for growth, making careful decisions, and maintaining consistent effort. A well-trained subconscious mind supports those behaviors by encouraging confidence and awareness. By repeating a small nighttime habit that reflects preparation, a person gradually strengthens the belief that progress is always within reach. Over time, the connection between evening order and morning readiness becomes stronger. The mind begins to expect forward movement rather than delay. In this way, a simple nightly routine becomes part of a larger mental pattern that supports discipline, clear thinking, and steady progress toward personal and financial goals. Shoes have always represented more than a simple everyday object. They are closely connected with movement, direction, and the journey a person takes through life. Every time someone leaves home, shoes carry them toward responsibilities, opportunities, and experiences that shape their future. Because of this, shoes can quietly symbolize the path a person is walking each day. When they are placed carelessly or left scattered across a room, The image may seem unimportant, yet it can subtly reflect a lack of attention toward the direction of the next day. On the other hand, when someone takes a moment to place their shoes neatly together before going to sleep, the action can represent readiness for the steps that will come tomorrow. This small visual symbol reminds the mind that life is a continuous journey where each day offers new paths to walk. The act of placing shoes in an organized way signals that the journey ahead is not random but intentional. Over time, this habit can shape how a person thinks about progress. The mind begins to connect daily routines with the idea of moving forward. When people repeatedly see symbols of readiness in their environment, they often become more aware of the direction they want their lives to take. Financial progress, personal growth, and new opportunities are usually connected with the willingness to take clear and confident steps forward. By recognizing shoes as a symbol of movement and destiny, a simple nightly action becomes a quiet reminder that tomorrow's journey is already waiting to begin. Symbols have a powerful influence on human thinking because the mind naturally interprets visual cues as meaning and direction. When a person sees their shoes prepared and placed neatly, it can serve as a subtle reminder that their path is organized and ready. This small moment can influence the way the day begins. Instead of feeling rushed or uncertain, the individual wakes up with a simple sense that the next step has already been prepared. Over time, these repeated visual signals create a pattern in the mind that connects order with progress. The person may begin approaching daily decisions with more focus and awareness because the environment around them reflects clarity. Financial opportunities and personal success often require the ability to recognize the right moment to move forward. When the mind is trained to associate daily life with direction and readiness, it becomes easier to notice those moments. The placement of shoes the night before becomes more than a habit. It becomes a symbol of commitment to moving forward in life. Each morning, those shoes represent the steps that will lead toward work, learning, relationships, and opportunities for growth. By maintaining this small ritual, a person quietly reinforces the belief that their journey is active and purposeful. Over time, that belief encourages stronger discipline and a more focused approach to life's challenges and possibilities. What begins as a simple act of organization can gradually support a mindset that welcomes progress and keeps a person walking steadily toward improvement and financial stability. Small rituals often carry more influence than people realize because they quietly shape how the mind approaches daily life. While major achievements usually receive the most attention, the habits that build discipline are often found in simple, repeated actions. A nightly routine, such as placing shoes neatly before going to sleep, may appear insignificant at first, yet it reflects a deeper principle of preparation and awareness. When someone intentionally completes a small action at the end of the day, it signals that tomorrow already matters. The act becomes a moment where the person pauses, organizes their surroundings, and mentally prepares for the next set of steps they will take. Shoes naturally symbolize movement and progress because they are connected with every place a person goes. By placing them carefully instead of leaving them scattered, the individual creates a small reminder that the journey continues in the morning. This ritual trains the mind to associate nighttime with preparation rather than neglect. Over time, repeated actions like this strengthen discipline in subtle ways. People who develop consistent routines often become more attentive to how they manage their time, their environment, and their responsibilities. Financial improvement and personal growth frequently emerge from this kind of steady discipline. Opportunities tend to favor those who are prepared and focused rather than distracted or disorganized. When a person ends the day with a small act of intention, it gradually shapes the mindset they bring into the next morning. The mind begins to expect movement, progress, and readiness for opportunity instead of hesitation or delay. Rituals also create stability in a world that often feels unpredictable. Many people move through their days reacting to events without taking a moment to reflect or prepare. A small nightly habit can provide a sense of control and structure that supports clearer thinking. Placing shoes neatly before bed becomes a quiet signal that the day has been completed and the next one is already being prepared. This routine helps separate the noise of the day from the calm of the night. When the mind recognizes this pattern, it begins to relax more easily and focus on the future rather than lingering on unfinished thoughts. Over time, this sense of closure can improve how a person approaches each morning. Waking up to a simple sign of order can encourage a more focused and purposeful start to the day. Instead of rushing into activities with scattered attention, the person begins with the feeling that their steps are already prepared. Financial progress often depends on making thoughtful decisions and recognizing opportunities that appear during ordinary moments. A disciplined mindset makes those opportunities easier to notice. When someone repeatedly practices small rituals that represent preparation and intention, the brain gradually strengthens the connection between routine and progress. The placement of shoes becomes more than a habit. It becomes a quiet reminder that each day offers a new path to walk. With consistent discipline and awareness, these simple practices can support a lifestyle that values preparation, focus, and steady advancement toward personal and financial goals. One of the most overlooked influences on progress in life is the condition of the environment a person lives in every day. When a space is filled with clutter, scattered objects, and constant disorder, the mind often reflects that same confusion. It becomes harder to focus clearly, harder to think strategically, and harder to maintain discipline. Over time, chaos in the environment can slowly affect productivity and decision-making. This is why even small acts of organization can play an important role in shaping a focused mindset. Something as simple as placing shoes neatly before going to sleep is a small step toward removing disorder from the immediate environment. Shoes are objects that are used daily, and they often end up scattered without much thought. But when a person intentionally places them together in an organized way, it introduces a moment of structure into the routine of the day. This small action reminds the mind that order matters. When a person consistently practices small habits of organization, the environment gradually becomes calmer and more supportive of clear thinking. That clarity can influence how someone approaches responsibilities, plans their day, and recognizes opportunities. Financial growth often requires focus, patience, and careful decisions. A mind surrounded by constant disorder may struggle to maintain those qualities. By removing small forms of chaos from the environment, a person begins creating a space that supports discipline and awareness. Over time, these small adjustments can influence bigger areas of life, encouraging habits that support stability and steady progress. Order in the environment also creates a sense of control that strengthens confidence and motivation. When people live in spaces where objects have their place and routines bring structure to the day, they often feel more capable of handling challenges and responsibilities. The act of organizing something simple, like shoes before bedtime, may seem minor, but it represents a commitment to maintaining balance in everyday life. Each time this action is repeated, it reinforces the idea that the person is capable of bringing order to their surroundings. This mindset can extend beyond the physical environment into other areas, such as time management, planning, and financial decisions. People who develop habits of order often become more intentional with how they approach their goals. They begin to think more carefully about the steps required to reach success rather than acting without direction. Financial improvement is often connected to this kind of intentional thinking. When the mind is calm and focused, it becomes easier to evaluate opportunities and avoid unnecessary risks. A well-organized environment also reduces distractions, allowing attention to remain on tasks that truly matter. Over time, the simple habit of maintaining order can strengthen discipline and consistency. Placing shoes neatly before sleep becomes one small expression of a larger commitment to living with structure and purpose. As that commitment grows, the environment begins to support clearer thinking and more confident action, creating conditions where personal development and financial stability can gradually take shape.